If I speak, I am in big trouble.
When José Mourinho took the Manchester United job in 2016, he was stepping into a shadow. 3 years after Sir Alex Ferguson retired, United were still lost. Moyes had crumbled under the pressure. Van Gaal rebuilt and was still sacked. Mourinho arrived as the man who'd restore order, the one fans believed could bring the glory days back. At first, it worked. The Europa League, the League Cup, the Community Shield. For a moment, Old Trafford felt alive again. But behind the trophies, Mourinho saw what others refused to. The cracks, the politics, the chaos. Then came the words that changed everything. This is football heritage. They laughed at him, called him bitter, said he'd lost it. Yet years later, every warning proved true. And here's how. The Ferguson Hangover. When Sir Alex Ferguson walked off the Old Trafford pitch for the last time in May 2013, he left behind an identity. For 26 years, Ferguson was Manchester United. Every signing, every youth player, every fight with the press, it all revolved around him. But once he retired, the structure that had supported him for decades collapsed overnight. David Moyes was handpicked to continue the legacy. Instead, he lasted just 10 months. United finished 7th, their worst league position in 24 years. And the aura of invincibility was gone. Then came Louis van Gaal, a tactical mastermind who tried to rebuild United in his own image. He delivered the FA Cup in 2016, but his rigid system and slow style made the club feel unrecognisable. The board sacked him 2 days after that victory. Behind the scenes, something even more troubling was happening. United had no sporting director, no clear recruitment model, and a new CEO, Ed Woodward, whose background was in finance, not football. Transfer decisions became inconsistent. Angel Di Maria for nearly £60 million, gone a year later. Falcao, Schweinsteiger, Depay. All short-term experiments with no long-term plan. By the time Mourinho arrived, United had spent hundreds of millions trying to recreate Ferguson's magic. But the truth was simple. You can't replace a dynasty with a shopping spree. The club had lost its football brain, and Mourinho was about to find out just how deep the damage really went. You see, when José Mourinho arrived at Manchester United in May 2016, it felt like destiny. United handed him the keys and the money. That summer, he brought in 4 major signings. Paul Pogba for a world record £89 million, Zlatan Ibrahimovic on a free transfer, Henrich Mkhitaryan from Dortmund, and Eric Bailly from Villarreal. Mourinho wanted experience, strength, and winners, and in his first season, he got results. The team didn't play like Ferguson's free-flowing sides, but it was effective. United won the Community Shield, the League Cup, and the Europa League, becoming only the 5th club in history to complete the full set of European trophies. For the first time since 2013, Silverware returned to Old Trafford, and Mourinho's grin said it all. I'm still special. He rebuilt the winning mentality that had vanished. For a while, Old Trafford believed again. Mourinho's intensity, his swagger, his obsession with results, it all felt like the start of a new era. But beneath that confident surface, the same cracks that had haunted every manager since Ferguson were still there. Hidden, waiting to resurface. And when they did, they'd consume everything he built. The cracks beneath the silverware. The 2017-18 campaign began with new optimism. United spent big again, bringing in Romelu Lukaku, Nemanja Matic, and Victor Lindelöf. Mourinho wanted 4 signings, he got 3. He didn't complain at first, but his words after the window closed hinted at frustration. It's a difficult market. I'm not fully satisfied, but I don't blame anyone. On the pitch, the team started strong, winning their first 3 Premier League games, scoring freely. But as City surged under Guardiola, the gulf in consistency grew wider. Liverpool, meanwhile, were building a powerhouse under Klopp with players like Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk. United were competing week by week, their rivals were building empires. Inside Old Trafford, the atmosphere turned uneasy. Mourinho clashed with record-signing Paul Pogba over tactics and attitude. Cameras even caught tense exchanges during training sessions. Some players stayed loyal, others began to drift. Still, he pushed on. United finished 2nd in the Premier League with 81 points, their best finish since Ferguson retired. But when Mourinho called it one of the greatest achievements of my career, people laughed. Only later would they understand why. Because with that squad, finishing 2nd was a miracle, and Mourinho knew it might be the highest point United would reach for a long, long time. The fall and the fallout. By the summer of 2018, the mood around Manchester United had shifted. Mourinho had delivered their best league finish in 5 years, but instead of backing him to build on it, the board hesitated. That pre-season, Mourinho sounded different. His interviews felt more like warnings. He said, "It's difficult to believe we will start the season with the same players we had last season." The frustration was clear. He knew he was falling behind. Once the season began, the cracks opened wide. United lost 2 of their first 3 league games, including a 3-0 defeat to Tottenham at Old Trafford. Mourinho stormed out of the post-match press conference saying, "Respect, respect, respect. 3 Premier Leagues. I have more than the other 19 managers together." It was raw, defensive and honest. A manager fighting both his critics and his own dressing room. By December 2018, results collapsed. A 3-1 loss to Liverpool at Anfield was the breaking point. 2 days later, Mourinho was sacked after 2.5 years in charge. His exit statement was short and respectful. No anger, no blame, but his earlier words lingered in the air. Until the club changes its mentality and structure, it will be hard to compete. From hope to chaos. When Ole Gunnar Solskjaer replaced José Mourinho in December 2018, Manchester United felt reborn. The tension lifted, replaced by nostalgia and belief. Ole's message? Let's make the fans proud again, reignited hope. The results were instant. 10 wins in 11 games. Paul Pogba looked liberated and Old Trafford sang Ole's at the wheel. Then came Paris. Down 2-0 from the first leg. United stunned PSG with Marcus Rashford's last-minute penalty. A night straight out of the Ferguson era. Ole was rewarded with the permanent job, but emotion couldn't cover the cracks for long. The midfield lost balance, the defence faltered, and the club still lacked a clear plan. Signings like Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes brought moments of brilliance, but no structure to build on. In 2021, United reached the Europa League final, only to fall on penalties to Villarreal. Months later, Cristiano Ronaldo returned in a wave of nostalgia that disrupted the pressing system completely. By November, after a 4-1 defeat to Watford, Solskjaer's story ended. Proof that passion alone couldn't fix what Mourinho had warned about, a broken foundation. Then came Erik ten Hag's arrival in 2022. He promised logic and discipline. The club backed him heavily. Casemiro, Lisandro Martinez, Anthony Eriksson Onana. And his first season looked promising. United lifted the League Cup, finished third and felt organised again. But soon reality struck. A 7-0 humiliation at Anfield, injuries and inconsistent tactics. His public fallout with Ronaldo dominated headlines. And by 2024, despite winning the FA Cup, United finished 8th. Their lowest in over 3 decades. 2 trophies couldn't mask the truth. Another project undone by chaos. After a decade of false dawns and £1.5 billion spent, the pattern was undeniable. Was Mourinho's prophecy coming true? Mourinho's prophecy comes true. Well, when José Mourinho stood in front of reporters in March 2018 and said, "This is football heritage," the football world rolled its eyes. To many, it sounded like an excuse, a manager trying to justify failure. But with hindsight, it was a warning. He wasn't talking about tactics or individual players. He was talking about the culture. The fact that Manchester United had become a club that expected miracles while refusing to fix the foundations. Back then, his words were ridiculed. Yet everything that followed proved him right. Even when he called finishing second in 2018 one of the greatest achievements of my career, people laughed. But statistically, he had a point. United finished that season with 81 points, the most of any post-Ferguson side, and a squad that, compared to Guardiola's Manchester City, was miles behind in quality and cohesion. That performance was defiance. Years later, as pundits and fans look back on his time at Old Trafford, the narrative has changed. The toxic manager who was blamed for everything is now viewed as the man who saw the cracks before anyone else did. Because Mourinho wasn't wrong, he was early. And as United's cycle of rebuilds and resets continued to spin, his words echoed louder than ever. You can't fix football heritage overnight. The new era. Now, when Ruben Amorim was appointed Manchester United manager in late 2024, it felt like a familiar story with a new face. Young, ambitious, and tactically sharp, Amorim had built his reputation at Sporting CP, transforming them into Portuguese champions with a clear system and fearless football. United fans hoped he could do the same in England, bring order to a club that had lived in chaos for more than a decade. But the weight of history was heavier than ever. Amorim inherited a legacy of burnout, A fractured squad with fading stars, inconsistent form, and a fanbase exhausted by false dawns. His first matches offered a glimpse of his ideas: quicker transitions, structured pressing, and trust in young players. But results didn't come easy. United stumbled through their opening fixtures, struggling to find rhythm. Statistically, his early months were rough. A win rate below 30%, one of the lowest in modern club history. Yet anyone watching closely could see what he was trying to do. The football looked more organised, even if the execution lacked. Players like Kobbie Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho began to flourish under him, while veterans such as Casemiro and Rafael Varane faced uncertain futures. Behind the scenes, a new structure was finally forming. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos took sporting control, with Sir Dave Brailsford and a football operations team focusing on long-term strategy, something Mourinho had begged for years earlier. For the first time, United were trying to modernise how they operated rather than simply changing who sat in the dugout. Still, the pressure on Amorim remains intense. In a club where patience is rare and history looms large, even progress can look like failure. But suppose United truly want to escape their endless cycle. In that case, this is where it starts. Not with a new slogan or another rebuild, but by finally doing what José Mourinho said all along: backing a project, not replacing it. Because if they don't, the next chapter will sound painfully familiar. Anyway, what do you think? Was José Mourinho ever really the problem, or was he just the first person brave enough to tell Manchester United the truth? Comment down below and leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.